Alright, so here we go. This is my entire object is one subtool. I'm going to start, because I'm on a Mac, I'm going to actually move this to my hard drive under a new folder called thing, something like that for right now during my work in progress. And the reason for that is because my next step is going to use Blender to create the UVs for this. Okay. And it's really, Blender's got a terrible way of tiling out to the hard drive. I'll just say it that way. Great program. Just terrible as far as navigating anywhere. So here I'm going to just make sure that everything's on. I got my merge, quad, texture. I don't even need texture for this, so I'm just going to uncheck texture. Got my scale at 1. Just going to export this. Then we're going to go into Blender. I'm going to show you some faster techniques to get UVs done in this program. Incidentally, you know, I got that new UV master thing. Let's just launch that real quick. We'll just do it by default. Okay, then we'll export it and take a look at it inside Blender. Okay, now we import the wavefront object. And here's that nasty interface. So if we double click this a few times, we'll get out to the very core things and I don't have to surf anywhere. Now I'm going to clamp the scale at 0, so it'll take the original scale. Nope. Yep. Okay, so there we go. Now he's in here. So up at the top, I think we did a little bit of Blender work there with the skull, but here's a multiple part object. Again, if you click here, we have split area. So let's right click. I can go into UV image editor. Let me just get my bearings because every time I get into this program, it's all new. There we go. So again, that's Alt, middle mouse button to rotate, Alt Shift to pan with the middle mouse button, and Alt Control middle mouse button to scale in. Okay. And I want to go into object mode or component mode. So I have to click on it first with the right mouse button and then go into edit mode. Oh, that's weird. He doesn't have UVs. Interesting. So back in ZBrush, what did those original UVs look like? I'm just curious. Not that I'm going to be using them, but I'm very curious. New from UV map. Wow. Really? It's interesting. I still don't want to use it. Okay, so it works like this. All these parts are in my way, and I want to do them one at a time. So what happens here is L on the keyboard allows me to highlight a part. I'm just going to get the worst part out of the way first, and that's the body. So I just got to find a component on the body, and then select inverse that part, and hide the rest. Okay. So that's going to be my thing that I keep doing over and over and over again. Now, if you've never done UVs on a creature, you'll know that it's a very laborious thing to hide your seams. No doubt about it. We hide our seams usually at the bottom of the base mesh, some place where nobody's looking, and it's an art form in itself to do UVs, no doubt about it. That being said, if you can do UVs and do them well, you're very sought after in the industry, no doubt about it, because it's the most boring task in the whole wide world, and it yields the best results. Okay, so let's get started with this. Know that Alt, clicking on something, allows me to see an entire edge loop. So I can rotate around and see where this edge loop starts and begins. And for this one, goes all the way down to creature. And is a very, very well hid edge loop. I like this edge loop. Very nice. Now, does it split the hand in half? No, it ends right here at the finger. So I would have to take a little bit of extra time, no doubt about it, to split these fingers across. So what I do is I kind of investigate things like this, for instance. How about the next one? What happens there? Well, the next one gives me my seam on the top of the hand, so that's probably not a good thing. So I'm going to go with this one. And the key here is that I've learned is go in there we go. And make sure they're both highlighted at both sides. This is the painful part about it. It's because everything has to be so symmetrical. Control E, mark seam. Now I'm just going to have to find one that divides the hand very even across this axis. So let's see what this one does. That's probably my top of my hand. Yep. So I like this edge loop. There's no doubt about it, but I just don't like it where it starts here. Okay. So what I'm going to do here, I think it's Control and Shift allows you to deselect stuff. So I'll just Control Shift that, and again go in here, kind of memorize where I stopped. I stopped right here at the basin of the wrist. Okay, might go one in from that, and then Control E, mark seam. So tit for tat, I have to do that to the other side. And I also have to make sure that I didn't disconnect it here. So these edges right here, they're unneeded. And I'll show you why here in a sec. Your idea here is to go all the way around the character with a seam or several seams to take it apart and flatten it out. This one is unneeded and I'll have to reroute it. As I said, UVs are art form. Hopefully by the end of this chapter you'll have a good understanding of UVs, enough so you can do your creature. But trust me when I say this, it's one of those things that is not learned within a single chapter. Okay, Control E, mark, Control E, clear seam. Okay, so now if you look here, all I want to do is connect these two together. So Control E, mark seam. So now that goes all the way around the arm into the wrist. Just like that. Okay, so let me try to mimic that onto the other side. Is it so important that you get them perfect? No. You don't have to get them perfect, but if you were to ever go into a thing called mirrored UVs, I would say now is the time to practice for something like that. And mirrored UVs are the fact that I can mimic it to the point where I only have one arm in the UV range, and the texture is absolutely perfect on both, and I save space that way. I'm not going to do that. It's a very cool trick. There's no doubt about it. It's not used as much now. I don't know. I haven't seen it used in a while. Most games have gone over to console, and it makes it a little harder to tear them apart to look at what kind of industry standard has been put into place. Okay, so in this case I chose to do the harder route, but I just wanted to try it out. So I'm going to highlight that entire edge loop, and then I'm going to go Control Shift and deselect all the hand this time. Then Control E, clear seam. So now it should look like the other side. Okay, then I have to kind of decide what I'm going to do as far as getting the edge loop this far. Okay, this far, I got it here. How do I get it all the way around the character? Right now, if I was to just keep this bare essential, let me just show you what that would look like. Highlight it with L, you unwrap, and you can see that it's not unwrapping too well. Okay. So in the next video, I want to take this a bit further and start working my way around for the UVs.